Okay, I'm pleased to meet you again here, and sorry for the inconvenience for this afternoon. We were supposed to meet at 2 actually, but because of certain circumstances we had to put this off until this time. Anyway, I'd like to remind you with where we left last time we met. The last thing we did is chapter 14, which talks about Hester and the physician. If you remember, we had a kind of meeting between Hester and her ex-husband, Mr. Chillingworth, and then she wanted to discuss certain things with him in this chapter, and that the subject of the topic of their conversation was about Demisdale, that she was feeling bad about Demisdale and she wants to do something about this. And then the conversation ensues, and there was a kind of give and take, a speech between them, speaking about their condition, about their past somehow. And within this chapter we have a kind of description about the character of Chillingworth and how far he has developed. I told you earlier that the major four characters are developing quickly since chapter 12, because we crossed the middle of the novel, and as we see, this kind of development is specific to each character. Each character has its own condition. For example, Hester is supposed to be the adulterer, and she's supposed to be the bad woman of the society, and the development of her character is that her view, her perspective, or she is now seen with a different eye than before, than ever, by the Puritan society. Puritans from now on do not consider Hester as the adulterer, as the sinner. She actually started to change her own character by playing a good role in the society, like a caring person, providing help for the people in need, and tending those who are sick, and etc. So if in one of the quotes we passed on previously, and I think we got it in this exam of today, one of the Puritan people says, look, this is our Hester, who is caring, who is no more considered as the adulterer. She is the good woman of the society, and etc. So this is how her character developed in the events of the story. While for the character of Demisdale, when he develops into weakness, into paleness, into frailty, when he gets very weak, and which goes down until he dies at the very end. While the character of Chillingworth, he develops into being darker, more devilish, duskier, more vengeful, and these things develop especially from the middle and on. As you see, his face starts to be sooty in one of the quotes. I have given you also on this exam, I think. His face is very dark and sooty, and so on. And this is all attributed to the revenge that he is pursuing, because he is committing revenge in the right of Demisdale. So and of course Pearl, we don't need to forget about Pearl, because she is one of the most important characters in these, and especially she is in the limelight in these chapters. She is under the focus of the writer in chapter 14, 15, and 16, and how the writer tries to develop this character by exploring its. And as we all know, the character of Pearl is not a normal one. It is a very special character. You see here something that would make me weep. This is how the character of Chillingworth has developed. And then we have here a discussion about Demisdale and Hester is just like making a kind of compromise with Chillingworth to quit his revenge upon Dimmesdale and let him live his life peacefully, but of course he rejects this offer. And then she decides in this, let me put it in red, she decides in this line, if you can see, I must reveal the secret. What kind of secret? You know, when they met in the prison in chapter 4 in the interview, he took an oath from Hester that she would not reveal his name or his real identity as her husband, and he will not also speak about her and about her being his wife. So now she says, I will reveal this secret. I will tell Dimmesdale that the person living with you, committing revenge, punishing you, is my husband. He is Chillingworth. He must discern thee in thy true character. He must recognize you in your true character. And this is the plan of Hester to be pursued in the next chapters. So Hester now tries to tell Dimmesdale about the secret. This is the last thing we did in chapter 14. In chapter 15 we have, and this is our own assignment actually, we have Hester and Pearl, the title of the chapter. So it is specifically designated for these two characters, and how we can explore the character of Pearl, how she develops in these chapters. Hester now is looking for a chance to meet Dimmesdale in order to tell him about the truth of her husband. Be it sin or no, says Hester said bitterly as still she gazed after him, I hate the man. After leaving Chillingworth, she says, I hate him. If you remember in previous chapters, she told him that I did not love you and I did not pretend of any kind of love. I never feigned I never loved you and I did not pretend. ما ظهرت إنه I love you. So here she confirms the idea that she hates him now because of his plans, and she confirms the idea, yes, I hate him. This kind of hatred comes along with the kind of love that is developing in the story. We have a hatred that started to initiate between Hester and Chillingworth, and we have alongside this kind of hatred another issue, another topic of love that is established between Hester and Dimmesdale. So I already told you previously that the novel falls under the structure, under the umbrella of romanticism, where love is one of the basic themes of this story. And the writer tries to highlight this point every now and then. He tries to communicate an idea that love is very important. Love is more important than even marriage, because Hester and Chillingworth are married, but they did not continue their own matrimonial life. They did not continue their own marriage. Because of what? Because of the absence of love, because there is no love that connects them. So he adopts this kind of perspective, this kind of viewpoint along the chapters of his novel. And he's comparing that relationship to another relationship that started between Dimmesdale and Hester. Although they are not joined in marriage, there is no document, there is no official thing that connects them, but they love each other, they are connected to each other, and they have produced something very precious, which is Pearl. Of course, this is the philosophy of the writer. So based on this kind of argument, we find the writer, you see here there are no inverted commas, there are no parentheses, so definitely the writer is speaking here. What does he say? Suhad, can you read, please?
Yes, Doctor. From Letman.
Let man.
Yes, let man tremble to win the hand of woman, unless they win along with it the utmost passion of her heart, else it may be their miserable fortune, as it was Roger Chillingworth.
Okay.
When some.
Okay, that's enough. That's enough. Thank you. So, what is the idea here? As I explained, I was talking about love. So the writer is making a point here. He's saying, "Let man tremble." Tremble means yartajif, which means suffer. Let man suffer to win the hand of woman. Let man suffer to get a woman to marriage, or to get married, unless they win along with it. Unless they win along with the hand of the woman. What should they win again? They should win the utmost passion of her heart. So the writer is saying that you cannot marry a woman without the side of love. So a man should suffer if they marry a woman without love. And when you want to marry, you must attain that kind of love before any marriage. Otherwise, if you do not do that, if you do not win love with the woman, with the hand of the woman, what happens? Else it may be their miserable fortune. They will suffer. They will have a miserable fortune. راح يكون عندهم حظ عاثر أو تعيس, as it was Roger Chillingworth. Just like the case of Roger Chillingworth, who did not attain any love, who did not win Hester's heart for him. That's why his marriage has come to an end. It has failed. So this is the philosophy of the writer when we talk about love, when we talk about relationships between a man and women. Yes, you want to say something, Suhad?
Yes, but also he wants to highlight the concept of love, and he says that man must suffer in love, and must love women before getting married.
Yes, this is the idea of romanticism that the writer is referring to. So then we have, this chapter talks about Pell and Hester, and then we are going to refer to Dimmesdale and Chillingworth. You see here, Hester is asking about Pell. Pell, where are you? Whose activity of a spirit never flagged had been at no loss for amusement, while her mother talked with the old gatherer of herbs. The gatherer of herbs, جامع الأعشاب العجوز اللي هو Chillingworth. Just a simple note about Pell. And then you see Pell here gathering flowers and designing or decorating a scarlet, or a letter on her, a letter A on her breast. The child bent her chin upon her breast and contemplated this device with strange interest. Many things to be said about the character of Pell, because she is not only a child, because of the way she thinks, because of her judgments, because of her opinions. So she is not only a 7 years old baby, because she starts conducting certain kind of conclusions in the way she connects the scarlet letter Hester wears with the ministers, the Dimmesdale putting his hand over his heart. She says, well, mother, why you wear this letter, and at the same time Dimmesdale puts his hand on his heart. She tries to connect these two gestures, these two ideas together. I wonder if mother will ask me what it means she's talking about the scarlet letter. Her mother now, the green letter and on thy childish bosom has no purpose, because it's in green. It's made with the leaves of the plants and the flowers. She's trying just to mimic her mother, just to imitate her mother. يعني تحاول انه تسوي حرف A letter بالأوراق مال الأشجار، وتقول أريد أشوف ردة الفعل مال أمي. What kind of reaction, what would she say about this? And then the mother says, the green letter and on thy childish bosom has no purpose. But do you know, my child, what this letter means, which your mother is doomed to wear? Do you have an idea what does it mean? Yes, mother. And here Hester Pearl's cleverness is shown, is highlighted. It is the great letter A, great, al-azim. Thou hast taught me in the Horn book, you taught me about this, that this letter is very great. And do you know why your mother is wearing this? Yes, of course I know. It is for the same reason that the minister keeps his hand over his heart. So now, as if Pearl is telling us that my mother and the minister have committed a sin. My mother is wearing a scarlet letter publicly in front of the people while the minister is hiding something. That's why he's putting his hand over his heart. So as if the writer tries to tell us that, look, Pearl knows everything. Pearl is the author of the story. She pursues the events and she follows everything, as if she is an omniscient narrator, al-rawi al-alim, that knows everything about the story of the novel. And then they try to get some kind of interpretation for this letter. The conversation between Pearl and her mother continues, and then see, there is a repetition, a little bit repetition here. Mother said, what does this scarlet letter mean, and what kind of purpose it has, and why does the minister keep his hand over his heart? All these questions run in the mind of Pearl. That's why her mother said, naughty child, shut up and don't talk, and so on. This is the content of chapter 15, which highlights Hester and Pearl. It gave us an idea about the character of Pearl and how she clever is, how clever she is, by connecting ideas, by shooting judgments, by asking too many questions, and also it highlighted the history of Hester and Chillingworth's marriage, and how she feels that she hates him, she despises him now, and how Pearl is living in the open nature and always associated with this nature. This is the content of chapter 15. Any questions on chapter 15 before we move to next 16? Yeah. No questions. Okay, then we go to chapter 16. I think we dealt with until chapter 18 in the morning studies. So you see here we have chapter 16, which is entitled A Forest Walk. As you see, in chapter 14 we saw Hester and Chillingworth, and Hester was determined to tell Dimmesdale about the secret of Chillingworth. So now she is going to the forest, waiting for Dimmesdale to come from his daily services at the church in order to inform him about the secret of her husband. You see here Hester, as the summary I put here, Pearl inquiring about the black man. I refer to this idea, the black man. You remember when we always talk about the superstitions, al-khurafat, that was prevalent in the 17th century. We discussed this earlier when we started the novel, and I refer to the 16th and 17th century England and literature, and I also refer to Hamlet, and I told you that people at that time did believe in these things. That's why it was common to see these things in literature, especially in this specific time. That's why we have ghosts, for example, in Hamlet, in Shakespeare's Hamlet. And this novel is supposed to be set in the 17th century, so it also involves these things about the devil, about the superstitions. That's why we find these things in this novel. How the character of Pearl is developing superstitions. Hester and Pearl are discussing Hester's meeting the black man. I will refer to this later, and how Hester meet Dimmesdale in this chapter. So now Hester is going to make it known to Mr. Dimmesdale, at whatever risk of the present pain, the true character of the man who had crept into his intimacy. The man who crept into his intimacy is Chillingworth. So the writer says that Hester decides to tell Dimmesdale about the real character, the true character of Chillingworth. Again, we have some talks about that the discussion or a conversation between Hester and her daughter. Mother, the sunshine does not love you. It runs away and hides still because it's afraid of something on your bosom. Now you see, there is until the very end of the paragraph. And I remind you with chapter 11 or chapter 12, when Hester went to the governor's hall to defend Pearl, and Pearl used to play with the sunshine, and there was a kind of reference to this idea. And we interpreted sunshine as purity because it's related to light, this light of the sun. So definitely it is related to innocence, purity, chastity, virtue, all the good things, which Hester lost when she committed the act of adultery. She said, I lost my sunshine, I cannot give thee any, because I don't have any sunshine. So you need to gather your own sunshine. For Pearl, because of her kind of let's say because of her nature, because of her association with nature, the writer always links her with items of nature, like animals, like a forest, like plants, like the rose bush. So she is more into nature. That's why she is pure, she is innocent, and she can have that kind of light, that kind of sunshine. That's why the writer tries to compare between the light of the sun, the sunshine, and Pearl. So here you see, will not it come of its own accord when I am a woman grown? Will not sunshine come to me when I grow up? And she tells her runaway child, answered the mother, and catch the sunshine. You need to follow the sunshine. Sunshine here is interpreted as a purity, as virtue, al-fadila, as chastity, al-iffa. So you need to follow it, you need to hug it, you need to clutch it into your own self, because it could easily be wasted the way she did, the way Hester wasted that sunshine. And then there is a story about black man, which the black man, as we all know, is interpreted as just like the devil. Al-shaytan huwa al-black man. Well, I'll let me say it in Arabic, like when من واحد يعني يقترف ذنب أو يسوي فد kind of guilt. بهيك حال أكيد يكون يعني الشيطان حاضر بهاي الأشياء، وإلا ما راح يقترف هذا الذنب. This is in all religions, not only in Islam. So the black man اللي هو الشيطان راح يكون سبب لارتكاب الإنسان لهذا الذنب. بالكريستيانيتي أو بهذا الباراجراف specifically الستوري تقول إنه whoever commits a sin، أي شخص يقترف ذنب أو خطيئة، يكون قد انكتب اسمه بالبوك، هذا البوك الكبير مال الشيطان، ويكون وقع نفس اسمه، وقع على هذه الخطيئة بالدم. And هنا I'd like to refer you back to the last year and Dr. Faustus. If you remember, when Dr. Faustus signed his name with Mephistopheles, and Mephistopheles is a senior devil, he is the emissary of Lucifer. وهنا تشوفون إنه how Faustus signed his name with his own blood. as a sign of a strong contract that cannot be broken. The same is true here, that a person who and at the same time, Faustus committed many sins in this context. Here is the same idea that the people who commit sins have signed their names in the book of the devil, and they have signed it in blood. And this woman whom Pearl met says it was the old dame, the old lady in the chimney corner at the house where you watched last night, when Hester used to go to pay attention or to give care for people, for sick people. An old lady told Pearl about this story, and actually she says that lady thought that I am asleep, and she started talking about this story, and that's how Pearl heard the whole story. And this lady says, she said that 1,000 and 1,000 people had met him here and had written in his book and have his mark on them. This is a kind of criticism for Puritanism, for the Puritan society, because thousands and 1,000 people, which means 1,000,000 of people in the Boston colony have signed their name, and that's almost all the people there. Almost all the people have met the devil. It means that those people are hypocrites and they have sins, but their sins did not show up the way Hester's sins did. That's why it's covered, and nobody knows about that. And also the ugly tempered lady, old Mistress Hibbins, was one of them. واحد من هذه المجموعة مال البيوريتان. وهذه الأولد lady also said that the scarlet letter اللي موجود يم هستر هو البلاك man's mark، هو علامة البلاك man. Pearl asked her mother, did you see the black man? Did you meet him in night time? Have you met the black man? And you see Hester in this quotation says, once in my life, the time that she met Dimmesdale, in which they have committed adultery and that sin. This is where she met the black man. This scarlet letter is his mark. And then go, silly child. Hester tells her daughter, go. It is no black man. When Dimmesdale passes by, and she wants to stop him in order to tell him about the secret, and she says, and mother, he has his hand over his heart. Is it because when the minister wrote his name in the book, the black man set his mark in that place? But why does he not wear it outside his bosom, as thou do, mother? So you see here, as if Pearl knows all the details. She's aware about these things. She knows that Dimmesdale has committed this sin. Although she is 7 years old, she's a child, but she knows all these details. That Dimmesdale has committed this sin, and we have the mark of the black man, of the devil, but this mark is hidden. But why did not he show it up to us, just like the way Hester did? This is how she is inquiring, Pearl. So you see, these things are very important because they highlight the character of Pearl. Although the chapter is not that long, but it gives us a deep insight about the character of Pearl and how she's developing in the story. As you see, this chapter gives us an idea about the black man and its story and how it came to existence. And within this kind of context, the character of Hester is developing, and what kind of discussion about the black man that took place between Hester and Pearl. And Dimmesdale is going to come to this scene, because here, in this quotation, she says that he is passing by, and this is not the black man, this is somebody else. This is what we can learn in the next chapter. This is all about chapter 16. So now we have a connection between chapter 14, 15, and 16. All these in this video.